Utah's rock station, K-Bear 101, Mick and Allen, time to just ask a pro. Diaz and Larsen in the studio this afternoon to answer any questions you have about bankruptcy. If you're thinking about a bankruptcy, talking about it, just wondering what would that mean to your credit history? Can you buy a car? Can you buy a house? Can you keep the car you have? Can you keep the house you're living in? What does it mean? And who should be doing a bankruptcy and who should maybe be shying away from doing a bankruptcy? All those questions can be answered if you call and ask them to Diaz and Larsen. Hi, Tim.
Hey, how are you?
Doing good, man. How's everything going?
Going well, thanks.
Getting into summertime here. Is there a difference in different types of the year when bankruptcies happen the most?
Summertime's typically a busy time.
Is it?
Yeah.
So you find yourself when you should be going on vacation just all busy doing bankruptcies, huh?
I still try to make it on vacation, but it is a busy time.
Is court involved in the process of bankruptcy? If somebody's doing a bankruptcy, are they going to spend a lot of time in court?
Actually, no. Typically, if you file a Chapter 7, which we've talked about before, which is liquidation bankruptcy, where you're not paying anything back, you'll attend one hearing.
Just one hearing.
One. And
is it in front of a judge?
No, it's only in front of a trustee.
And
what is is that different than a judge? Or
yeah,
I mean, because there's like commissioners, judges,
right, yeah.
and trustees now.
Right.
I guess we're finding.
Yes.
Okay.
So now, yeah. So trustee in all bankruptcy cases, there's going to be a trustee appointed. If you're in a 7, it can be one of any number of trustees. There's quite a few Chapter 7 trustees. They're assigned at random. If you're in a 13, there's one Chapter 13 trustee for the state of Utah.
Really, just one,
Just
huh?
one.
For
Yeah.
the entire state.
Entire
So
state.
if you're in St. George, you got to come up to Salt Lake and do that?
No, if you're in St. George, they come to you for that hearing.
Oh, really?
They actually schedule they can be in Ogden, they can be in Salt Lake, they can be in St. George.
So I'm guessing there aren't as many 13
Filings?
filings.
Actually, in Utah, Chapter 13 filings are pretty high, higher than most states.
Well, then
So that one person is very busy.
Very busy.
Really?
Yeah.
sounds like
It sounded like there must not be
Yeah.
very many.
He has a staff of attorneys that handle hearings and things like that. But yeah, he's very, very busy.
Do you get very many people that are filing for bankruptcy, very many that are turned down?
No. If the attorney's doing it correctly, you should know going in whether your bankruptcy case is going to be confirmed or if you're going to get that discharge in a 7 and the discharge eventually in a 13. We try to get enough information up front that we're going to have a smooth process.
Okay. And when you do a bankruptcy, I think a lot of people feel like they're going to lose everything they own because before I can say that I need bankruptcy, I have to liquidate everything first.
Right, not true.
Not true.
No, that's what bankruptcy is there for, is to protect you, and also it's a protection for creditors too, that creditors get what they can. But in most cases, you're not going to lose anything if it's filed correctly. We know what we're doing going in. We can put you in the correct chapter and not lose your stuff.
Is that a problem if somebody tries to do this on their own, that they make mistakes and sometimes do end up losing stuff?
Yeah, it can be, and it can be way too late.
Can you do bankruptcy on your own?
Sure.
Can I walk in
Yeah.
are there
You
like?
can try it.
I mean,
Go for it. Let me know.
well,
how
you
that
look to
goes.
me like I'm really. It's just a question. To
Yeah,
me.
no.
It's like, go ahead, jackass.
Yeah.
Good luck.
No, so literally, but there's people who will go represent themselves
Right.
in a court case, or
Yes.
people who will do anything like, because it's our right, I guess, as an American
Absolutely.
citizen that
Yeah,
you can do
represent
that.
yourself.
But unfortunately, you may not know all the things you need to know.
And a lot of times for that initial hearing, without the representation of counsel, you don't even know what to bring to that initial hearing or what's going to happen.
Right.
So that initial hearing isn't going to be your last, because the trustee's going to continue it until you get all the stuff in. Or if they get really sick of it, they'll eventually just dismiss your case.
Right. And that's the part, to me, having talked to you and other attorneys we have on our show, that you want to believe you are capable of doing it on your own. You want to believe that you're capable of getting yourself out of the mess you may have gotten yourself into. But there are people who go to years of school who
Right, yeah.
learn exactly the ins and outs of these cases.
So true.
That I would so much rather have somebody on my side that knows what's happening than me trying to fudge my way through it.
That's exactly right. And your time value of money trying to do it on your own. You're going to waste time by leaving work trying to get all this stuff done. Just
Could
do
you
it
end
right
up?
the first
Could it
time.
end up costing you more
Yeah.
than if I were to pay an attorney up
Oh,
front?
yeah, absolutely, because you could lose your car, you could lose your assets, anything like that. So.
470-570-670-KBER. One more question. Is there people out there that know how to manipulate the system and go rack up a bunch of credit cards and debt, bankrupt, go do it again, bankrupt, go do it again, bankrupt. Is
There's
there
gotta
a way
be.
to manipulate it?
There's people that think they can manipulate it very well. But the problem is if you're trying that method of racking up a bunch of debt and then filing, there's time parameters where that creditor come after you and say, oh, no, this isn't dischargeable because you did that very same thing.
Yeah.
Also, there's time, parameters from when you can file another case.
Okay.
You can't just turn around and file another case when you have a discharge.
If I have a credit card or to say, I'm just going to throw out a hypothetical Sears.
Okay.
And in my bankruptcy, I list them as I'm not going to pay them back.
Right.
Can I ever get a credit card to Sears again?
It depends on the creditor. They're not going to be real happy to give you another one, but let's be honest, there's enough credit card companies out there that somebody will.
Yeah. And I find it interesting that when you declare bankruptcy, they call you up and almost beg you to take their card.
You'll get a lot of offers.
You get a lot of offers.
All right, so once again, the phone lines are open. If you want to call right now, and we say this all the time too, this is your chance. Everybody out there's got a question for a lawyer, especially about money.
Right.
And you're worried about whether you're going to be able to pay your bills. You've always wanted to ask the question. The phone lines are open. You can call, talk to them for free right this second.
And I just want to stress that's why we do this.
Yeah.
We're doing this for you guys. We when we talk to our listeners, you're the ones who asked for this, so that's why we do this. Mark, what's your question for Diaz and Larsen?
Yeah, hey, how you guys doing?
Great.
Good.
Hey, quick question. My credit sucks. I mean, it's been horrible for years and years. I went to I'm currently, I guess I should say, going through one of those credit repair places.
Yeah.
And I paid them a couple hundreds of dollars, and my score has not improved. I'm still, and I'm just wondering if I was to file bankruptcy, would that could that possibly improve my credit score?
It can. Do you currently have debt?
I have, but I mean, nothing that I'm really. I mean, it's old debt. That's what it is.
Are you paying on it?
No.
Okay.
That would be one where come in and see me. We can pull a credit report, and the credit reports we pull from all three credit reporting agencies. It'll actually give you that combined score now and estimate what your score would be a year after filing for bankruptcy. So it makes it a whole lot easier to look at that and say, okay, well then, yes, it is worth it for me, or no, it's not.
Okay. Now I also have the state. I owe some state taxes.
Okay.
They're garnishing my wages. Would filing bankruptcy have anything to do with that?
Taxes, the only answer I could generally give over the air is it depends. Taxes,
Okay.
It depends on what kind of taxes they are, when you filed them, if they were filed timely. But you can always put the taxes into a Chapter 13 reorganization, which is the easiest repayment plan you can do for taxes and drop those interest and penalties.
Is that what you're doing, Mark, with this company you're giving hundreds to? Are you kind of working out paying your bills off with them?
No, actually, they're sending letters trying to get the stuff off of my credit report.
Okay.
Right, yeah, they're trying to do some credit repair, but if you owe taxes and have some outstanding debt, it's definitely worth the free consultation. The answer may be no, it's not worth it to you, but come in and find out.
And then it might be do what you're doing.
Right.
Which makes me want to ask, do these relief companies, do they help?
They can. It depends on what you have and how much you have out there. And there's also a difference between the relief companies and credit repair companies. I mean, those are two different things if you're
Okay.
repairing your credit or trying to settle out your debts.
Okay.
Well, they have some. The stuff's been falling off, but however, my score has not risen at all.
Right.
Well, are you doing anything to make it rise?
Well, I mean, I'm trying. I can't even get a credit card, to reestablish.
Because you have to get credit to increase your score.
You do
Right,
have to-
but nobody will give me credit. So.
Well, there are ways out there to do it, though. There are banks that will actually give you a prepaid credit card,
Right, yeah.
but that prepaid credit card will work in you establishing higher scores, working
Right.
on your scores. But I'll tell you what, you got to be so careful with those things because they can do just the opposite also.
You bet. Yeah.
Right. Well, and I don't want to pay interest on a savings account. Basically, would be what it is, wouldn't it?
I have a friend right now who's doing credit repair for herself right now, and she's got one of those prepaid credit cards, and she's being as careful as possible, but it's funny how quick it slips away. When you have to put the $300 in there, then you spend the $300, put the $300 in there, and she's doing pretty good and not assuming much interest. because she's paying it off on paydays and using that credit card to buy gas, groceries, and then when she gets her paycheck, immediately pay back on that $300.
Right. And that is a good way to do it, but you've got to be able to keep track of it like that. So.
Yeah, and you've got to be on it because you slip once, all of a sudden you're back where you were.
Yep.
Yeah, well, 'cause I actually have something similar to that, but it doesn't show up on my credit report. So,
Is there other things that people can do to get increased scores?
Yeah, generally any sort of secured debt, if you get a small car loan or something like that, anywhere that's going to offer you secured debt where there's collateral, you're going to get a lower interest rate, things like that. So your payments won't be as high, but it helps to establish credit because most of those places will report.
Oh, will they? So that's my big question is, will they report it, though?
Yeah, most of if you're getting a secured loan, it's almost always they're going to report. So, and that's going to help you.
And so would you want to go to one of those car lots that they carry the contracts?
Yeah, you can. I mean, I have no problem with any place like that. I deal with a lot of different auto dealers with my clients. And, you know, when you come and see me, if that's your issue, we can talk about which ones are going to work better for you.
And remember, if you go, Mark, and you talk with Diaz and Larsen, that consultation's always free.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, I definitely need to talk to somebody about this because it's just, it just seems like you know, people will file bankruptcy, you know, a year later they're buying a house and then, you know, the credit score is, you know, way up there. And then
you sound like you're still that dog chasing his tail.
Yeah, and honestly, come in because at least this way you'll know. You won't be wondering anymore, should I have filed, should I file? You'll know.
Yeah, because they say that a lot of it is have liens. You know, not only the state tax ones, but you know, just credit companies that have obtained a lien, but I don't have anything they can attach to. So
well, once again, get all your info together, take it in, set an appointment, call it. What's the number?
596-1661.
And get in and talk as soon as you can.
Fantastic, thank you.
You bet, Mark.
See, and when we talk about somebody who's at a place where they're ready.
Right.
And it's time, and you've been he's even trying other sources, and it's not working for him.
It's just not working.
And I know so many people that have been that person that either they've gone to a repair place or talked to somebody who knows or talked to somebody who went through bankruptcy, and they'll tell them what to do, and it's still not working. Everybody's different.
Everybody's different. And before you spend a lot of money on trying to do that, you know, the credit repair or some sort of settlement program, you might be just wasting your money. It might cost you far less, and the consequences be better for you. At least have the consultation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I want to stress also, when we bring in an attorney, we do this so anybody can get questions answered. It's funny how people hear what they want to hear, and I got asked the other day, and they go, boy, Mick, it sure sounds like you want everybody to declare bankruptcy. I go, no, I don't.
No.
I don't want anybody to have to declare bankruptcy, but, you know,
Well, let me
it's
ask you
there.
this, Mick. Have you ever known anybody that filed bankruptcy?
Yeah,
Have they gotten themselves into a better position because of it?
much better.
That's how I look at it. I know people who have as well, and I look at it and say, you know what, I knock on, is there any real wood in here? I haven't had to do it. Doesn't say that I never will, but after talking to Tim and learning
not
more
afraid
about
to.
the system, I wouldn't be afraid to because I
not
would
afraid
know
to.
I wouldn't do it unless I really needed to, and I would imagine, Tim, when we come in to talk to you, you'd say, you know what, you don't really need to.
And
You can get through this without it.
I do that on a regular basis. If I don't think it's something you should do, I'll tell you.
And then I got to ask you, if you've got a good paying job, do you have a right to declare bankruptcy?
Yeah, you sure do. Yep.
And that's what I say. The basic thing to look at, and I was in this situation, but I got lucky and got out of it because something got me out of it. And it was a gift almost. But if you are month after month stretched to the very limit and getting nowhere, it's something to consider.
Something to think about.
Right,
Something
'cause
to
you're
think
not
about.
gonna crawl out of it.
What
Yeah.
was it that because you always talk about the founding fathers made this as basically a right for it. What was it that caused them to make that part of it?
Because, well, in my opinion, before this country started and they made the amendments to allow for federal bankruptcy, there were debtors' prisons. I mean, you could actually go to jail for owing somebody money and not pay.
So this was a way to make so now
this was a
nobody would
separate
have to go to
legal
debtor's
system
prison in
that
our
you could
country.
Take care of your debts.
Or give you some relief before you go to jail, because they were starting to fill the jails up with all kinds of people that owed Jim down the street $1.50 or whatever
Right.
it was, and it was, all of a sudden, not only did he owe Jim $1.50, but he owed Bill $2.50, owed Carl, $1.75, and he couldn't pay all these guys back because he only made $1 a week.
Right.
And his rent was $2 a week. And
yeah.
so, it's like we keep throwing him in jail, and that's getting nowhere because when he's in jail, he's not paying anybody back, and he's doing absolutely nothing. So we got to figure out a way to keep people out of jail.
And they do reform the Bankruptcy Act not very often, but they do look into it and do make some reforms according to how society is going and what needs to be changed. So it's not always the exact same system.
And what we went through in 2008 till still now, hello. Let's go to the phone again. We got Randy on the phone. Randy, what's your question for Diaz and Larsen?
Yeah, my question is basically I had a lawsuit filed against me a couple of years ago, and I told them I just had no way of paying them because I'm on disability, And then last year in June I got a settlement, but I used that money to buy a mobile home instead of filing for bankruptcy. Does the equity in my mobile home improve my credit score? Is basically my question.
Well, and some of the other questions you thought he was going to ask.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your equity isn't improving your credit score all that much. I mean, your debt to equity ratio will come into it, but it just depends on if there's still judgments out there, if there's still loose debt out there that hasn't been taken care of, then your credit score isn't going up too much.
Could he lose that trailer?
In a bankruptcy?
Yeah. No, through the creditors.
You still get your exemptions even if you're not in bankruptcy, so it just depends on what the mobile home or your home is worth. You do get the homestead exemption in a mobile home.
Okay, but they could also...
I'm on disability. They can't take it away from me, right?
They can't take your disability. Your trailer is a completely opposite thing. That's your homestead exemption, so it totally depends on the value.
Are these creditors still harassing you?
They haven't tracked me down since I moved, but from what my lawyer told me is that I have a $5,000 deduction, and the trailer is only $2,000.
Yeah, you're fine. Whether you're claiming the vehicle exemption or a homestead exemption, and again, that's going to depend on if it's attached to the land it's on, things of that nature. But generally, it sounds like with the value you've got there, you're okay.
Okay.
And as far as increasing your credit score, if that's really what you're you're going to have to look at programs that are set up for you to be able to do that. But as Tim said, you've got to do what?
You need to establish credit.
Establish credit.
Just sitting on your assets and your laurels isn't going to increase your credit.
Sit in your assets.
I tried so hard on
No,
that.
that was good. I like that.
That was close.
Because I always
I was gonna
get,
get
why are you
bleeped
sitting
for
on your
that.
assets?
Okay, so one more question.
Go ahead.
Can I use the equity in my home to back up checking accounts?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, to keep my checking accounts from bouncing.
Well, I mean, that would depend on your bank if your bank's going to give you a loan, but then you're getting a secured loan by putting your house on that. The equity in your house is not going to count as something unless you're refinancing to get cash out.
Now, you could set up a second mortgage that would be like a credit card against your equity.
Okay. That's what I was curious.
I mean,
Okay.
the point is if you have debt, it's a free consultation. We'll look at it and just see if we can get you out of it. Especially when you're on a fixed income like that, might be your best bet.
Okay. Thank you.
So Randy, I would highly recommend for you to take that free consultation.
Mm-hmm.
Right now you got questions. How would you like all those questions to be answered, and how would you like that to go away?
Yeah, and that's the thing, and we kind of touched on this a second ago. That's why we have Tim in here. We're not going to have Tim in here and tell you to go see him, and all of a sudden you're stuck paying some giant bill.
Exactly.
No, we would not do that to you. Tim would not do that to you.
No.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have him on this show. You're going to get to go in. You're going to get to take all your stuff, all your assets, all your liabilities, everything you have, take it in, set it down in front of him, and discuss what the best thing for you to do is.
Exactly.
And we trust him to be honest with you, and that's why we have him on the show.
And it's simply a conversation.
Yeah, and to tell you what, in his opinion, and it's a very good opinion, the best thing you can do for yourself. and bankruptcy's one option.
That's correct.
Shad, what's your question for Diaz and Larsen?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Great.
Good.
My first, I got two questions, kind of one for me and then one kind of for a friend that actually has already gone through bankruptcy.
Okay.
My first question is, when you go into bankruptcy, I know there's different lawyers, different prices and whatnot, but what generally is the normal rate to pay to get a bankruptcy done? I mean, how do you pay the lawyer and whatnot?
I'll bet he only takes cash up
The
front.
normal rate.
Yeah, I just charge the normal rate.
I always wondered
That's
that
a good question, though.
Right. It depends on who you're going to, and like anything else, in a lot of ways, you get what you pay for. I have a lot of clients that will come to me after going to another place where they've paid a very minimal amount, but their case is not going in the right direction. And at that point, it's really too late. There's not much I can do for you there because you're already represented. But in generally, what you're going to pay is the filing fees, which are the same for everybody, the required credit counseling courses and financial management courses, your credit report. And then the attorney's fees vary just depending on the complexity of your case.
Okay.
And a Chapter 13, the fees are statutory, meaning it's set up by local rules in our jurisdiction what we can charge. So any bankruptcy attorney that you're going into 13, essentially it should be the same fees, just a little different up front.
Okay.
And
I was
I'll tell
worried
you an
about it
exact
being like,
quote.
you're trying to get rid of payments,
Right.
and you get this big, huge payment with a lawyer,
Well, and like he said, once he determines what your case
Right.
is going to
When
entail,
you come in for that consultation,
then you'll know
what
for
it's
sure.
gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And what do you think's a lot of money?
Well, I mean, I just didn't want to be like, I've got about $2,000 a month in that I pay outward, towards bills, car payments, stuff like that. And I didn't want to try to get rid of some and end up paying the same amount to a lawyer because then essentially,
You're not going to.
Yeah, you're not. The friend of mine. I see. I don't know how to say it. Wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be.
Right.
yeah.
But everybody in a bankruptcy, they have to pay filing fees.
Right.
They have to pay class fees.
Yeah, you do have to do 2 courses.
2 courses, and that's 7 and 13.
Yep.
And then you're going to have to pay to pull your report.
Yep.
What are filing fees around?
Oh, the filing fee they just changed it, but it's just over $300 for a Chapter 7 and just below that for a Chapter 13.
Okay, the classes cost about what?
Total for both of them, $55.
Okay.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, and then to pull the report.
$35 if you're single, $55 if you're filing jointly.
Okay, and then you add your attorney fees on there.
Yep.
So you're looking at 300, 450, somewhere in there, just, that has nothing to do with the attorney. That even if you were filing on your own, you
you're
would be
gonna have
paying.
to pay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
when
then,
somebody comes to you,
my-
do you include all those fees in?
Yep.
Okay, so all those are included with the
Yeah,
attorney fees.
you'll pay one thing. We don't make you pay separately for the classes or anything. It's all going to
See,
be
that's cool.
together.
So,
Yeah.
all of a sudden I'm not
Just
surprised
one
with,
bill.
now I got to come up with $300?
Exactly. You're not
Cool.
going to get a new bill from some third-party servicer.
Okay.
Okay,
And now the
that's-
question for your friend.
Okay, so he went through bankruptcy, and he's wondering what's the steps you've got to take because he's heard of people being able to buy a house, like he just heard with you guys on the last guy, after a year.
Yeah.
And he's wondering what's the correct procedure, what's the steps he's got to take to actually be able to do that.
Honestly, do you know if you filed a Chapter 7 or a 13?
What'd you file, Colby? Chapter 7 or 13? Which one do you get to keep, like vehicles?
You can in either one. It just depends on the circumstances. Did he make monthly payments to pay creditors back?
He's pretty sure it was a Chapter 7.
Okay. Chapter 7's typically for individuals, it's what happens. Basically, just after he's been out a year, just start looking for homes. Look for, things you want to buy. Look for a realtor. A lot of realtors, especially in light of how the economy's been, know bankruptcy pretty well. And they can help you find lenders that will help you out that if you've been through that process. But after a year, you're typically looking at the same lender as anybody that hasn't been through bankruptcy is. And you just go in and sit down with them and talk to them about a home loan.
He just asked, is there actually a website that would kind of give out the proper steps for him?
There's not. I mean, not that I know of. You could just Google it and see if there's certain things to do better than others. But
Do you know of anything, Alan?
For
A guy that's declared bankruptcy and he wants to see if there's a procedure. There's not a procedure, is there?
we work with obviously Carlo from Utah Lending Pro. He's on our show every week,
And that's what I would suggest.
And I would just say get a hold of a lender and just say, here's what I've been through, here's what I've done, here's where I'm at. What do you can we see if I can get the ball rolling, and maybe he'll say, you know what, you're still 3 months out, 6
Right.
months out, but let's get started. That's what I would say.
But contacting the lender, I totally agree, because the lender is going to know at that point, once you're out of bankruptcy and you have that discharge, the lender is going to know way better than any attorney of what your steps should be to get to that point.
And just pick a lender and start working your way through lenders, and see who will work with you.
Yeah, if you need that, hang on, and Jimbo will give you that number we were just mentioning if you want it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Hold on. And, the guy's Colby's looking for a website. Well, here's a number to talk to a guy that will answer all those questions, too. And he does a free consultation as well. Let's go to, that was it, Brian. Did Brian Bell? I guess so.
I think so.
Well,
He's giving him his info.
Take a quick break then, and we'll be right back. We're talking with Tim from Diaz and Larsen. And if you want to get a hold of them and set up that free consultation to talk about your situation, call 801-596-1661, 596-1661, and we'll take more questions right after this. We'll take more questions right after this.